Si ndio hiyo? We must liberate ourselves as the people of Mount Kenya East. And the time of liberating ourselves is now. Is now.
This most powerful voting bloc is under threat, not from an outside enemy, but from within. The Mount Kenya region, a bloc that has repeatedly decided a presidential election, is now at the scene of a calculated political fracture that one lawmaker says cannot be ignored any longer. Manyata, a member of parliament, Gitonga Mukunji, speaking during an interview with a local television station on Monday, March 2nd, 2026, issued a direct warning against what he called a deliberate scheme to divide Mount Kenya along east and west political lines. He was firm in his message. The narrative being pushed by certain leaders was not natural political development, but a manufactured agenda designed to serve individual political interests at the expense of the entire region's collective strength. He cautioned fellow leaders to reject the divisive framing and preserve the unity that has historically given Mount Kenya its negotiation power ahead of each and every general election. Mukunji, who is allied to former Deputy President Gachagua, pointed out that Mount Kenya has always spoken with one voice on matters of national leadership and development. He argues just that fragmenting the region into East and West bloc would destroy that leverage, leaving communities unable to negotiate effectively for political positions or development resources from any administration. He directed blame at leaders aligned to President William Ruto and his Deputy President Kithure Kindiki, accusing them of deliberately promoting regional differences not to advance development but to establish a political dominance over the region ahead of 2027. The East-West division debate has been growing in the region for months. The East comprises of Embu, Tharaka Nithi, Meru, with Isiolo considered a potential addition, while Murang'a, Nyeri, Kirinyaga, Nyandarua, Nakuru, and parts of Laikipia make up the West. Mukunji stressed that the people of Mount Kenya share common interests across both sides: economic empowerment, infrastructure development, and equitable representation in a government, making the artificial division not only unnecessary but politically harmful. The Public Service Cabinet Secretary Godfrey Ruku was among the first to publicly push the East-West split narrative. He urges Gachagua to stop dragging Mount Kenya East into what he described as divisive and destructive politics, insisting that the region would pursue an independent political path separate from the larger Mount Kenya voting bloc.
We must liberate ourselves as the people of Mount Kenya East. And the time of liberating ourselves is now. Is now. Because Rigiji, he has organized hatred against a government which is helping us ati tumufuate. Hatutaitikia. Mwanamwambia hii? Tuko na serikali na tuko na rais ambao anatusikiza. Kama wewe Rigiji na watu yako mnataka ukaa nje ya serikali, mkae nje ya serikali. Lakini sisi watu wa Meru, wa Embu, wa Tharaka Nithi, tutakaa ndani ya hii serikali na tutakaa ndani ya serikali ambayo inakuja.
Ruku pointed to Deputy President Kithure Kindiki as a proof that Mount Kenya East could shape its own future without outside influence, and declare that East was prepared to stand alone if unnecessary.
Serikali imeharibika when we have a deputy president who is at Peter way to presidency, our neighbor from Tharaka. Sasa hii ndio serikali imeharibika. We supported Kenyatta 1. We supported Kibaki. We supported Kenyatta 2. Na tu complain. Na wakati tuko na mmoja wetu, our neighbor, our brother, our son, who 2032 tutasukuma yeye akuwe rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, ndio watu wengine na hapa wanatuambia ati tutoke ndani ya serikali, serikali ni mbaya, William Ruto ni mbaya. Tunawaambia hata kama ni mlima, tutaikata mara mbili, tupate title yetu ya Mount Kenya East na wao wakae na title yao ya Mount Kenya West.
Gachagua responded sharply, comparing the situation to the divisive politics of the late Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi era. He recalled how in the 1992 election, Central Kenya was split between supporting presidential candidate Kenneth Matiba and Mwai Kibaki, a division that allowed Moi to retain power. He warned that the same strategy was being repeatedly used, warning that dividing the mountain would only benefit those who sought to weaken the region's collective political voice. Despite the rhetoric, Gachagua continued to face resistance in Mount Kenya East. In Meru and Tharaka Nithi, leaders allied to President William Ruto and his Deputy President Kithure Kindiki pushed back against his political tours, with clashes reported at his rallies in Nguba and Meru town. Public Service CS Ruko declared that Mount Kenya East would not be used as a bargaining chip in the national negotiation. By late February 2026, however, the political mood began to shift. On February 27, 2026, MPs from across the Mount Kenya region met in Kiambu and issued a joint statement declaring their solidarity behind President Ruto and his deputy Kindiki. Then, by-election victories that a week appeared to have encouraged a degree of reconciliation between East and West politicians, some of whom had previously advocated the split. The Deputy President Kithure Kindiki also moved to consolidate the region by attending a fundraiser in Nyeri County on February 20, 2026, where he urged residents not to abandon President Ruto ahead of the 2027 general election, drawing an historical parallel to how Mount Kenya East had supported former President Mwai Kibaki across 3 consecutive election cycles. It was against this backdrop of shifting allegiance and competing strategies that Mukunji rose to call for a return to unity, arguing that the strength of Mount Kenya has always resident in its collective voice, and that any leader using regional differences for personal gain stood against the interest of entire bloc.